Oh, shoot.
What is up, you guys? Welcome to another incredible episode of the Explain It podcast. We are your host. I'm Stephen Hunt.
And I'm Ingryd Hernandez.
And we have such an awesome guest with us today that we're so excited to introduce. This is Dr. Courtney Hunt, who also happens to be my stepmom and my family member and somebody who actually helped raise me from like the age of 6, 7 years old. Right. So we're so excited to have her on. She is such a wealth of knowledge and information. She is world renowned. She is internationally recognized. So any questions you have, now is the time to be asking those questions. So without further ado, let's get this thing started.
And yes, I am this short.
I can take my shoes.
No, I'm kidding. I have heels on, so this is work. By the way, I'm so proud of you. It's like the third one we're doing, and we could not figure out the microphone thing, but you figured it out today.
Exactly.
Kudos to Steven.
I knocked over the whole laptop while I was trying to set it up. I was like, this is a disaster.
Yeah. Like the last 10 seconds before I hit live. So kudos on you. But I am so excited. First of all, I was following you before I even knew who Steven was. Isn't that funny?
Is that why you like him?
Yeah.
Oh, because you guys are
trying to work your way in.
Oh, now you know. That was my main notice. Yeah. No, what was funny?
Flowers, it all makes sense.
I remember he was showing me who you were, and I was like, I follow her. You guys are related? And it was I was like, oh my God, I'm a fangirl. What are we gonna do now? Because this is now gonna be awkward for me.
Oh my gosh.
So,
well, you know what's funny is that it's so interesting because just watching you and your career, obviously being a doctor, and then switching over to more of the social media side of it and watching your followers grow and grow and grow. You're like, what, 150,000 followers or something like that now? Crazy. Courtney actually put me in a competition with her back, like this had to have been a decade ago. And she's like, who can post the most? Who can grow the biggest following? And I dropped off after about 2 weeks. And here she is with 150,000 followers later.
Wow. That's so cool though. Yeah.
But Stephen, when I started Genetic Protocol, which is my genetic company, Stephen was like my first guinea pig. So I would practice my methylfolate dosing and my methylation complex dosing. And I would let him get like really tired and worn out. And then I would make him take the pills and he would perk.
Wow.
And it was this like, oh shit moment.
You were the experiment.
Like, look at, he's so alert.
Yeah.
I was like a subject guinea pig, literally. Look how alert he is. And
yeah.
I'm like,
Watch Stephen want to go to bed at the dinner table, and then we give him the methylation enhancer, and he's got all this energy.
Wow. Methylation enhancer. So there's like some gene that most of us have.
So it's part of MTHFR.
Yeah.
What people call the mother effer gene. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so you can't break down a certain. Tell me, because I don't.
Well, hold on. Before we even get into that, let's get a quick origin story. How did you even get to where you're at? Because you are a OBGYN, and then you've made a huge shift, and you're essentially almost never in the practice anymore.
So I have been an OBGYN for 27 years, and in 2015, I was sick. My family was sick, and I thought, there has to be something more. I had Hashimoto's. I was exhausted. I was delivering babies 24/7. I had a solo practice OB, private practice. And I thought there has to be something more to helping people than just this traditional stuff that I've been taught in medicine. And so I started studying the language of genetics. I already had a background in stem cells and cancer genes, other types of genes, and cord blood. Or stem cells through cord blood. And so I started studying the genetics of things like methylation, folate metabolism. And I realized, okay, if we are building our bodies out of this food that we are giving our pregnant women, and I'm sick, all my pregnant moms are sick. My stepson wasn't feeling the best at the time. There has to be a way to unite with, and I knew that mitochondrial energy production was a big deal back then, that I can read this language of DNA and tell people what they need to eat or what supplements they can take if they don't want to eat the particular food to repair themselves. And so it started with that. So in 2014, I decided to start Genetic Protocol. 2015, I really implemented it and stopped doing obstetrics. And it just took off from there.
I love it because it's entrepreneurship with a twist of medical purpose, right? It's like you wanted people to feel better because we're all humans. Like you can't get a bigger pool of avatars to sell to, right? Like we're all humans and we all want to feel good. And so take us a little bit on that journey because now you're basically pivoting. And by the way, I'm paralleling this to like myself and Steven, who he was going to be like the best sales guy ever in medical sales. And I was the best data manager person in like corporation world. So we both pivoted into this entrepreneurial world. What was that like for you, having what I would think is more like a safe space? Cause like you're a doctor. I mean, everybody loves doctors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like saw a white coat yesterday coming out of Starbucks at Desert Ridge, and I was like, oh no, let me hold the door for you. I mean, it was a dude. So I'm just saying, like, so for me, at least my stereotypical perspective is that you have this very respected career, and now you're kind of shifting into something kind of new and different,
less traditional.
Yeah.
You have the security of a practice that everybody knows you as, and then completely shifting your personal brand and your identity into something completely different.
Yeah.
That's not even OBGYN necessarily related.
No. Mm-hmm.
I mean, the universe led me. So I never saw it as I'm going to quit doing OB, I'm going to quit doing gynecology, and I'm going to build this thing.
Yeah.
All I saw was I'm sick, my family's sick. And what I'm implementing when I see a woman for her annual and do her pap smear and her breast exam and talk to her about her cholesterol isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
And so while I maintained my OBGYN practice, I slowly started adding new things So I had a goal in sight of having this genetic company and teaching mitochondrial health and preparing people for what was coming in 2019. Because I had an idea of what was coming. And so I just slowly saw, okay, if you start changing little things, it wasn't a big, I'm going to shut this practice down and do this. It was, I'm going to start teaching MTHFR. I'm going to start teaching COMT. These are some of the genes that I test. I'm going to start teaching the genetics of inflammation. I'm going to start teaching mitochondrial energy production with the pool of people that I still see. And I was still taking insurance at the time. So insurance would pay me to do their pap smear. But then for 5 minutes, I would talk to them about methylation, or I would talk to them about mitochondrial energy production.
I love that.
Yeah,
so strategic.
I had to be because I was doing at 1.40 deliveries a month by myself, which if you're in the world of obstetrics, you know that is, you don't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
You know I didn't sleep.
Yes.
And so you're never home. And so I knew I had to, you can't just quit doing obstetrics. You have to tell people, okay, 10 months from now, when you're having your baby, you're the last one I'm going to deliver. I'm not taking any new OB. So I had a year to slowly start teaching people. And I think that's the best way from an entrepreneur's perspective.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
If you're going to change everything, and this is how I teach health too. The first thing I say is you're not going to get well if you can't see yourself well. If you don't plant the seed of what you want in 5 years and 10 years, and then slowly make the daily changes to get there, it will never happen. But that doesn't mean you have to, like if you're a night nurse and you don't want to be a night nurse anymore, it doesn't mean you have to go in and tell your boss that you're quitting tomorrow. It means one day a week, study something that might give you a better future, but then 2 days a week, study it until you get to the point where you can transition the whole thing.
That makes a lot of sense. I love this. It's like, it's the baby steps, right?
And then you already touched on the point that I wanted to make too, was because I was at home and I got to see you doing 40 deliveries a month. It didn't stop there. It was a consistent, always studying. You were always, anytime you had off time, free time, just hanging out at the house. It wasn't that we were just lounging around doing nothing. You were on the computer, you were studying, you were reading, you were researching, you were constantly pushing yourself to learn more information so you could serve more people, which is incredible. And you still are that way today.
Yeah. So right now I'm back on my black hole kick. And so I've been studying a very complicated part of how information gets out of a black hole. And I just listen to quantum physics, mathematical information all night long. And I just said to one of my friends,
some of us are just smarter, guys. Some of us are born
different. It's okay.
But
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be that complicated. But
Well, I like Men in Black, so I feel that there is an opportunity. Like there's a lot of stuff that teaches you that you don't even know is teaching
it's
you.
all in the movies.
Yeah, isn't it crazy?
All in the movies.
It's crazy.
It's
Yeah,
all
It's
in
true.
movies. But the point was, I had been looking for a very specific answer to a very specific topic. And when I was listening to these lectures all night, it woke me up at 2 a.m. And I thought, oh my gosh, I just heard that. Like it came to from my subconscious to my conscious in sleep because I heard someone explain the math of what I was looking to the answer for the answer to. And that happens to me all the time. But yes, I do study a lot.
Nonstop. Oh, good. We had a few comments there too. Was there anything that you had pinned up there, Ingryd, that you wanted to bring up?
Well, the folks out there like Blake Madsen said, like, this is great. The mother effer gene was huge for me, upping my choline intake. Fix the fatigue I thought just came from being in my late 20s. So that's interesting.
No, okay. So what's interesting with choline is that you come from an egg. And the eggs are made of choline and you have to eat the eggs. You literally came from, as a zygote, an egg, and they're loaded with choline, which is one of the nutrients that you need to make new neurons. So when you're studying, whether it's entrepreneurship or whether it's real estate or whether it's quantum mechanics, like I study, you have to be able to make your nerves reach out to each other and make new connections. And you cannot do it with choline. I'm just coming out with a choline product for people who have histamine intolerance and sunlight intolerance and all of those things until they can eat the eggs. But choline, he's right, is so important. That's why you see all these biohackers drinking 5 raw eggs every morning. I eat raw eggs every day. I don't always show it, but I eat raw eggs almost every day for that reason. And when you go back to your roots, you came from a zygote that was an egg.
Yeah, makes sense. I did, one of my best reels was me eating.
I was about to bring
egg.
it up. I was like, your top performing realist.
Yeah,
you're literally eating a raw
Me
egg.
eating
Talking
an egg.
about
I was
her
like,
day.
well,
Well on the
Yeah, all the effort we
You
put into
should read
everything
that.
else from the raw egg is what threw it over the edge for her.
Yeah.
and like flushing a toilet.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so for those of us who are trying to visualize what 5 years looks like, what's some of the advice that you would give? Like for me, as much as I'm going to showcase just how like a human I am, I think I know what I should be doing, but for whatever reason, and maybe I know those reasons, or maybe I just don't want to talk about them, I just can't seem to stay consistent with it. Like I know I should be getting up, no contacts in, no glasses on, and go look at the sun in the morning.
The behavior change is hard, which is why I teach live every single day. If I can get somebody to grab my hand and choose to go outside and watch the sunrise instead of sit inside on the couch and cry or be sad or go back to sleep, then I've helped one person that day. That's why I consistently do it every single day. But I hear what you're saying. Like when I was writing Your Spark is Light, which is my book, if I didn't feel like writing, I would find every excuse to go to Starbucks, get a drink, stop at TJ Maxx, go to Target. Like I would find every excuse. And in those moments, you have to ask yourself, what's more important, finishing this book or getting the Starbucks drink? And sometimes the Starbucks drink wins because you're just not focused.
Yeah.
You have 86,400 seconds of every single day, and you have to decide whatever your goal is going to be. You don't have the ADD thing. You don't deviate. You just redirect to that goal. And the other thing is surrounding yourself with people like you guys have done who hold the same goal.
Yeah.
So if you decide, oh, where's Ingryd? Well, she's at Starbucks again, getting another drink. You can call her and say, I'm going to kick your booty. Get back to work.
We have started talking about that because we're like, guys, we all need to lose weight. We all need to get fitter. Like
we need to
healthier.
feel good.
Yeah.
It's less for me now. It used to be about the aesthetic of it all. And now I've made the shift before. I've gone into ketosis. I've had these results, and Angel did too. And we were on fire. We felt so good. And then we let it fall off.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying my best to stay as keto as possible now for the last 2 weeks. Not every single day has been perfect. There's been 1 or 2 days that I was off on that, but it's been going well in that direction. And once you make that habit, I feel like it's easy to stay on it because you're like, I don't want to screw it up, because you know how fast you can fall off.
Yeah.
Well, and so I was trying to teach people where this came from in our history. When the Bible talks about plant the seed, build the mountain, or move the mountain, you're supposed to do that fasting. And I'm not a religious person. I'm not saying that as a religious thing. I'm just saying this information about how to do it is in all of our religious texts, all of our scientific texts. So when you have a healthier body, you can say, oh, well, that Starbucks stop or that TJ Maxx stop or that mall stop isn't really necessary. I have the energy to stay focused on my goal. So it universally starts with better health.
Yeah.
And from a chemistry perspective, when you enter what's called a metabolic state of ketosis, not a diet, not a doctor's name, it's just a ketogenic state, you make 4 times the amount of this molecule. So in your world, it would be like you have a bank of energy and you can make 30 molecules of ATP or 120 roughly. Which bank do you want to pull from? I want the 120. I want the ketogenic state where I can stay up an extra hour when I get home and play with my kids, do the kids' homework with them, pay the bills, whatever gets me to that next level, even the tedious stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great point. There was when I was on 75 hard, I was sticking to carnivore and I felt great. My face looked less bloated. I still struggle getting up in the morning. That's just, I did hear there was like a genetic gene and I'm like, maybe I'm just one of those people who used to stay up at night when we're old people. No, like back the like hunter gatherer days.
She goes, maybe you're making an excuse for yourself.
Maybe it was reinforced with the reels that were in front of me. They're like, yes, there's a gene that would help you stay up late so that, you know, your whole community could sleep and you would make sure, you know, the saber-toothed tigers didn't
I'm not saying that biphasic sleeping wasn't a real thing, but you have to have like maximum mitochondrial energy production to do that. And
I mean, I'm a peppy gal.
You are.
Yeah.
You are.
But I love to stay up late and wake up later. I don't like to get up early. That's my, like, this is where I knew I was going to disappoint you.
Look at it in her eyes.
I don't hold any emotion for what anyone does. And that's one of the biggest things I teach is if you decide that you are going to eat a ketogenic diet, and carnivore is not ketosis. Carnivore means flesh eating, and most Americans who are insulin and leptin resistant will never enter this metabolic state on carnivore. No matter what the gurus tell you, it will raise your hemoglobin A1C in most people, unless you're like really muscular and lean guy like Steven. It might work for him. Sometimes it works for me. It may or may not work for most women. So that's a huge distinction that I think needs to be made. But when you get there, you have so much more energy. It just makes the whole thing so much easier.
Yeah.
Life becomes like a quantum physics playbook that you can create your reality. I'm going to give you an example. A year ago, when I moved into my last house, I said, I want a picture of Einstein and I want it to have a neon genius across his nose. And this is what I want as a piece of art. So I had one of my friends who just is a designer look for it and couldn't find it. Now here we are 10 months later. I walked into an art store and there was the exact thing that I envisioned. And that happens with me all the time. But you have to be with it enough to recognize your surroundings, that it's happening, and sometimes turn over the rock to see if it's under there. Like I almost didn't go in the store that it was in. I walked by it 3 times and then I thought, I'm just going to go in there and see. And then it was in the back of the store and I said, you don't have anything with Einstein on it. And the guy said, well, yeah, I do. And he took me to the way back of the store and there it was.
Wow.
Yeah. That's so cool. That's way cool.
That is.
Yeah. I have a good friend, Marlon Johnson, and like he totally focuses on like manifesting, big guy on prayer, like staying healthy. He's a business coach and he talks a lot about that too. Like how you have to envision things, put it out there. And honestly, that maybe to your point, the more you are godly, like how you were meant to be, like the best human version of yourself, the crazy how many doors open and how you can manifest things to happen.
There's power and kindness. It's my number one quote. Always. There's power and kindness.
Yeah. But anywho, like I was absolutely, Steven, there's power and it's one thing that like I think why we're in business together. It's like we have a lot of the same values. But I think to your point, Courtney, it's like you need to be the best human you possibly can be. And when you're the best human you possibly can be, it's interesting how many other things that you're looking for kind of appear. Yeah.
So let's also shift this over to what the title of this podcast is, which is Biohacking Your Way to Success. You've had the opportunity to work with high-level CEOs, business owners, people that own major corporations and helping them really get out of a funk that they're in. So much so that you've had people that were going to get rid of the business, get better, they get healthy by working through you and your protocol. And then they go, I'm going to get rid of the business because now I've never felt this good in my life. And I don't want this to go to waste. I want to do something different now.
Yeah. I just had this conversation with a woman yesterday. I could sense her level of intelligence and her ability to create her reality in her field of work. And the first thing I said to her was, what's your next step? What's your next step? We can talk about your health. We can talk about your fertility, but what's your next step? And she got tears in her eyes. And then she started going down the path of the first two topics. And I was like, but that's not what brought tears to your eyes. What brought tears to your eyes is what you're going to do with your future self when you're even, and this is a healthy person who just wanted that Jedi level status, as I call it. What is your next step? And she had the tear in her eye. And I said, why are you talking about this subject? And why are you talking about this subject? Because my heart is feeling you. My brain, my intuition is feeling you. And I know that you want to be over here. The tear in your eye sees your future self doing something and you're so afraid to say it. If you can't say it out loud to yourself, how are you going to manifest it? So first you have to have health. For the people who are really sick, you have to be able to get off the couch.
Yeah.
You have to be able to clean the house. You have to be able to get organized. And that all comes with ketosis, fasting, sunlight, the right nutrition, all the things I teach. But you can look to yourself 10 years down the line and say, what do I want that person to be doing? What do I want my kids to be doing? What do I want my wife to be doing or my husband to be doing? And then you just, when you're healthy, you make the daily steps to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ruth has that question that says, do we really need to biohack our way to health, or do we just need to get back to nature's way? And
yeah, so biohacking is it's a popular word, but what I'm explaining is when you
Ruth, we did it for the algorithm, Ruth.
We got to catch attention, guys. This is the most followers we've ever had, or viewers. Come on.
Biohacking means hacking into your biology, and your original biology comes from all of the light code or instructions from the sun. So the sun's light is electromagnetic radiation. It fuels you through your mitochondria, through the oxygen in your lungs, through the plants, all of those things. And when you do it with the right nutrition and you understand heat shock proteins, cold shock proteins, all of the stuff that I teach, it's not biohacking. It's living in a symbiotic relationship with nature.
Yeah.
As much as you possibly
absolutely
can. And it's also not hard. I eat pecan pie. I eat Sour Patch Kids. I also practice fasting. And when I don't feel good, I fast for longer. And so I teach people how to fix their hormones with that. But then eventually you get to the point where you can splurge and you can indulge. You can do all of the things when you understand electromagnetic radiation.
Yeah.
Sunlight.
Well, and arguably, if people actually take the time to look at how we've depleted the soil, how we've broken from what I think are more natural practices for how we actually raise our vegetables and fruits and even our animals, like you might need something to supplement because of what we've done to Mother Nature in general.
There's nothing new under the sun. Everything that we give Nobel Prizes for, everything that we create drugs out of, everything that we create medical procedures out of is all reverse engineered things that you can find in this earth. I've always felt that way. When I was a medical student and I looked at glucophage and I was like, well, berberine and glucophage are the same thing. They're just reverse engineering something that you can get from a plant to make a diabetes drug. That's what the whole thing is. All these stem cell transplants that people are doing, you came from a stem cell. You wouldn't be able to heal yourself of anything if you didn't understand stem cell biology, which means you don't have to go to a doctor and pay $20,000 for a stem cell transplant. You just have to understand how to get it to come out of the hidden places in your body. So there's nothing new under the sun. Everything that people are paying hundreds of thousands, and I see really sick people who have spent $150,000 with functional medicine doctors and gotten no results. The foundation is see yourself well and then realize there's nothing new under the sun. So you start with the sun.
Yeah. I love that. Absolutely. The sun. And I love how what you focus on is mitochondrial health. And one of my first books I ever read that I freaking loved was A Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah.
And in
Mine
that,
too.
yeah. Okay. So in that book,
because it's all quantum mechanics as well.
Yes. I loved that whole series. Like I was in like 5th grade reading these books and thinking, wow, like my imagination ran wild. And one of the things I distinctly remember about reading those series of books, like The Swiftly Tilting Planet and whatever other book was there, was about like, I think there was even a chapter of them being a mitochondria and like how, or next to it or something. I have to read this book.
It's all of Star Wars too.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
I mean, Luke Skywalker is a Jedi who used his midichlorian to connect to the Force.
Yeah.
Basically, you make more mitochondria and you can connect to the electromagnetic radiation. And you come from a totality of a field at the moment of fertilization. Again, this is what the book that I wrote is about. It's all in the science fiction. It's all in the books.
Yeah.
Which means that this is a recursive system that we live in. And when, Tesla predicted we would have cell phones, we do. It's amazing how much of it is out there.
Yeah. Marlon says, would love to hear more about getting the body to produce more of its own stem cells.
So you have stem cells in cache pots in your body. So they're like, when we talk about hematopoietic stem cells, they're in your bone marrow. And when you fast, Marlon, this is fasting 17:21 in the Matthew 17:21 in the Bible. When you fast, you wipe out your old sick immune cells, and then you do high intensity interval exercise and you feast with the right nutrition to fuel those stem cells, and you can create yourself basically a bone marrow transplant. So if you had cancer, let's say you had leukemia and you were going to get chemotherapy to wipe out the sick cells and then a stem cell transplant, they got that idea from human beings being able to do that. They got that idea because when you fast long enough, and one meal a day fasting is not enough, or it can be too much. But when you fast to just the right amount in your Goldilocks zone, your right amount for your body, and her amount is going to be different than my amount, is going to be different than his amount, then the stem cells will be released, and then you fuel them with nutrition. So I use this hashtag hunt, fast, feast, and F, and you can think of what the F stands for, because when you do this, you fix your sex hormones, you fix your fertility, but you also fix all your cells.
And maybe even fix your relationship. You know what I'm saying?
Well, so I am a hormone replacement doctor at heart. And what I used to tell women was, if I can get your testosterone up, you're going to like your husband a hell of a lot better.
Let's do it. Okay, Courtney, when am I making that appointment? No, I'm just joking. No, okay. So you said something really revelational to me right now, which is everybody's going to have a different amount of fasting hours. So how does one figure that out? Like, do they work with you to figure out like, hey,
this is what I teach in all my groups. So I am, and I'll tell you the answer quickly. But when you learn something new, you have to understand the concept, get past the cognitive dissonance that eating fat is bad.
Right.
Then make your enzymes work for you and your mitochondria work for you, which means you have to change your chemistry. And that can take anywhere between a month to 3 months to 6 months. So I teach it in groups on Instagram. But if you have always eaten all of the carbs and stuffed yourself and become insulin resistant, pre-diabetic, which doctors' level of diabetes is so far off. What we're taught versus what it really is so far off, meaning a hemoglobin A1C, for those of you who know what I'm talking about.
As in you're probably pre-diabetic before you think you're pre-diabetic.
Yeah, your doctor will tell you that a hemoglobin A1C, which is a blood test, that's a 3-month average of how much glucose is on your blood cell.
Right.
Or been glommed on there, is normal at 5.5. But that means your average blood sugar is probably 115, 117.
Yeah.
So if you understand that entering ketosis, where you run mostly on this other fuel called ketones, you would have to drop your glucose to 60 at night. And most people are so afraid of that because they're told it's hypoglycemia, that if you have that as your running average, you never got into running the dishwasher. It's called autophagy, but running the dishwasher is what you do at night when you sleep. That's when most of it happens.
Right. Autophagy is when you eat your own dead cells and dead,
or damaged.
Yeah, or damaged. Okay.
Yeah.
And you eat your own like cancer away, right?
Apoptosis.
Yeah.
Autophagy and apoptosis are the two.
I do listen.
programs.
I don't know how much I'm trying to like absorb, but
You're doing amazing.
That's what I'm saying.
impressed.
I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm logical. I know what I should be doing. I need to figure out the next step to like actually do it, you know?
So and maybe this isn't what you're referring to, but what I always tell people is, if you go out to dinner with friends and you have the burger, the fries, the Coke, the candy, and you feel like a stuffed pig the next day, you can't go to the guilt. You can't go to the shame. You can't go to, that's what I've always done, so I'm just going to destroy my diet. You have to go back to, okay,
that was fun.
I can get back on track.
Yeah.
I'm going to get back on track. I'm not going to look in the mirror for 2 days. I'm going to ignore the fact that my pants feel tight.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just do it.
Yeah.
It's that pattern of shame and guilt and sadness and whatever you were programmed with as a child that takes you back to continuing those bad decisions.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And it's something that you can get caught up in entrepreneurship as well. I remember when we lost pretty big on a flip in Texas, it was so difficult to get out of that darkness. It really was. I'm really happy that though, like I had my wonderful husband that like we would go on walks and finally we started talking more about it. And like the more talking and to your point, like the less shameful it felt, the better we got out of it. And at the end of the day, we're like much stronger for it. So that makes a lot of sense when you reorient that to like your health habits.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I have some big decisions in my life right now. And I was thinking about them this morning, kind of panicking, you get that anxiety feeling like, what do I do? What do I do?
Yeah.
And then this voice in my head, because I hear voices in my head, said, it doesn't matter. You're going to make the right decision. And if you mess it up and you make a mistake, the next time it comes around, you're going to know exactly what to do. But if you sit on the bench and do nothing, you're going to learn nothing. So put your toe in that pond that you know nothing about and just do it. And if it doesn't work, you made a mistake.
Yeah.
You know how to get yourself out. You know how to be in a good mood. You know how to teach people. You know how to do all these things. Just try.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, you learn how to not do it next time.
Yeah.
Look at that. We thought we were getting Biohacking 101 and we're getting Tony Robbins
mindset
202.
Yeah, that's right. For sure. No, I love that.
But to answer your question about the science, so one of the hormones that humans, most doctors don't know is called leptin. And leptin was discovered in the mid-90s. Most doctors have no idea how to fix it. It is your energy sensor for your body. So think of it like the gas tank in your car. You don't want to go below empty. That would be a really low leptin. And you don't want to go over full. That would be a leptin over like 10. So most people, your doctors don't even know what it is. And then they're intimidated to test it because they don't know what to do about it. And there's no drug for it. But leptin is literally, can you burn your fat? Did you eat too much, too many calories, too many carbs?
Yes.
And
yes, I
do
did.
you know how to move? Well, all of us did.
Yes.
Because nobody
Yes, I
taught
did.
us this. I did too. I did too.
Yeah.
So your endocrinologist, your internist, your primary care doctor, your OBGYN are going to say, no, I won't test it because I don't know what to do with it. And I don't have a drug to give you.
Yeah.
But the answer is you have to stop eating the carbohydrates and teach your body to burn fat.
Yeah.
So if your leptin mine was 29 when I first figured this out, and it should be less than 10. For most people, there's caveats, but nobody told me how to do it. As a matter of fact, a friend of mine who's a doctor said, here, take this supplement. And I knew enough to know that wasn't the answer. And I thought, well, how do I burn fat for fuel? Well, first, I have to learn to eat more fat. I have to fix my metabolism. And I went for a VO2 max at Lifetime Fitness back then. You were a kid. And they said, you're not metabolically flexible. But I didn't know what that meant. As a doctor, I didn't know what that meant. So I'm going to plug my own group. I have a group coming up that starts on Sunday where I'm going to teach metabolic flexibility.
Kiss to cook. This is your road to start healing. Go join Dr. Hunt's group.
She knows. I'm going to teach metabolic flexibility, how to make more mitochondria, how to get better sleep, how to use your hot and cold to improve your metabolism. So when you realize if you can't burn fat for fuel, you're going to be tired, you're going to be sluggish. That's where you start. So a person with an elevated leptin, it may take them 3 months of ketosis and or a 5 to 7 day fast to burn through all that glucose and finally get their sluggish body to say, oh, I get it. I can do it. Your cells, your brain might get it. But some of these women, it takes me 2 months to get them to enter ketosis. Someone like Steven, who's muscular and works out and maybe has just fallen off the wagon for the last month because of stress.
Yeah.
He would be able to do it in 3 days.
Yeah. Men.
So you're starting, it depends on where you start from and how broken your thyroid is, how broken your leptin is, how broken your insulin is. And the doctors in the offices don't even use good numbers. Their numbers are set too high.
Well, and honestly, after having my gallbladder taken out and dealing with some like my own health stuff, like I don't trust, not you, but most doctors now.
No.
Because I'm like, wow, I
Not
really,
even a little bit.
after learning a lot about, because I went on paleo, I was like super fit in like the teens, the 2012 to 2015. And then I tore my ACL and everything went downhill. But I learned so much about how food could have kept my gallbladder, right? Like God put that thing in there for a reason. I don't think we should be taking it out.
Mhm.
So the fact that my doctors were so quick to take it out, now reflecting back, being more mature in that perspective, I'm like, man, I really hate that we ended up doing that.
A plumber's gonna plumb.
Yeah, a plumber's gonna
Plumber's gonna plumb.
If I have look,
Yeah.
we've had this
Yeah.
conversation, and because you're my stepson, but
Yeah.
if I go to a realtor who sells luxury houses and I say, what do I do with this house? They're going to tell me to sell the house.
Mhm.
If I go to a realtor who has a team of experts to rent it, they're going to say rent it and make money off of it.
Mhm.
That's the way doctors are trained. If I know how to take your gallbladder out and you're sitting in the emergency room screaming in pain, if I send you home and I don't have the time or the knowledge to give you the instructions on how to overcome that,
Mhm.
you're just going to call me every day. And what's the threat on the other side of that? If it
You
explodes,
get sued.
you're going to get sued.
Yeah.
So we've placed the fear of God in our doctors, and we
Yeah.
don't pay them enough for
That's
their
fair.
visits.
That's a very fair
They're
perspective.
paid for a 10-minute visit. And when you said, why, this is going to take us back to the beginning. I never wanted to work for another doctor. I never wanted to work for a hospital. I wanted to work for myself. As soon as I could come to Arizona, I came from LA. I got my own practice
Mhm.
because I knew I couldn't follow someone else's rules in how I spend time with people and how I help people heal.
Yeah.
And I always knew that I had a visionary mind. So I didn't go work for a hospital. I
Mhm.
didn't go work for a large practice where I had to answer
Yeah.
to other people.
Mhm.
And so that allowed me to be able to study the most cutting edge stuff. So if I'm telling you in 1995, which is when they started supplementing our food with folic acid,
Mhm.
Mm.
and
You were just born.
1994, they discovered leptin,
Mhm.
most of your doctors don't have any education on that, because once something is discovered, they have to do studies, they have to write textbooks, they have to push the information out. And before ChatGPT, that was like a 30-year process.
Yeah. I mean, 90s is when they really screwed us up with glyphosate. So, yeah. By the way, when people keep asking, why is everybody allergic to everything? Because they changed everything. Okay, I know a little bit about that too. I was in food service.
I was gonna say I'm excited to bring that side of it too because you're so against so much of the foods.
I am.
But you also have a very unconventional way of looking at food
You know,
as
I
well.
have a different perspective. You have the power, Dorothy. I'm going to be Dorothy for Halloween.
So I'm going to be a unicorn. Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do next year.
Yeah. Oh.
So the food is going to be there. The
Mhm.
Dunkin' Donuts is going to be there. The glyphosate's going to be there. Did I confirm the force is real? I did confirm the force is real. The force is absolutely real.
Babe, you know you're my force. That's my husband right there.
I'm not saying you can't eat the cereal.
Right. I'm saying
I'm
you shouldn't.
saying
Yeah.
if you eat the cereal, fast the next day.
Oh, yes. Mhm.
It's built into Lent.
Mhm.
And again, for those of you who don't know me, I am not religious. I'm showing you the religious answers for the people who do understand religion
Mhm.
or have been raised in religion. The plants are going to come in the spring. Lent happens in the spring so that you fast, so you purge your body of heavy metals and toxins.
Mm.
The plants are going to grow, whether it's 2,000 or 3,000 years ago or today. They're going to have lead, cadmium, arsenic, and mercury, basically the foundation of glyphosate, in them. Whether you're living 3,000 years ago or today.
That's very good.
You
point.
wouldn't have been eating the strawberries in March in northern. I'm assuming what's your heritage?
Well, I'm from South America, but I
Oh.
have to believe a lot of people came from Europe because
Colombia.
I mean, I'm just too white.
Well, okay, so let's say you're a Northern European, or you wouldn't have been eating the kale, the spinach, the nuts that have the lead, cadmium, arsenic, mercury,
Yeah.
all the heavy
And I
metals that
love
damage
potatoes.
your DNA, but you
Yeah.
wouldn't have been eating those year
Mhm.
round.
Mm-hmm.
So the religion was supposed to teach people, okay, you go through this 40-day period of fasting to get ready for those toxins to come into your system
Mm-hmm.
when there's strong sunlight that makes your mitochondria burn through glucose faster because the glucose is in the environment. And we didn't learn that.
Yeah.
So now we've added to it with the pesticide, and we've added to it with the things that we make that we make to kill the pests that are
Mhm.
they're not really pests. You're supposed to evolve with those too.
Mm-hmm.
But once a problem, there's nothing new under the sun. We're just making it worse.
Yeah.
And so if you put the focus back on you,
Because you have the power.
I'm going to eat the cereal. I don't like cereal. I don't eat cereal, but I'll have a donut.
Ice cream. Yeah.
I'll have ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
But then Monday, I go right back to my fasting, and I
Yeah.
go right back into a deep state of ketosis, and I hike Camelback Mountain. Like,
Yeah.
you have the power to fix it,
Yeah.
no matter what it is.
Yeah. And that's the optimistic view for sure, which is when you feel the pressure or the weight, because like we're connected globally more than ever, that you feel the pressure and the weight of all the things that are happening all the time.
I look in.
Yeah.
I go on that mountain and I look in.
To your point, yeah.
The problem, do you have kids?
I do.
Yeah, the problem is when you have kids.
For sure, that is a problem.
Send your kids to school and the reward system is sugar and the
Yes.
parties are candy.
Oh my God.
End of the week special
Preach.
is candy and sugar.
Yes.
So the problem is your kids want to be normal and they want to fit in. And when they don't want to eat the junk and they're the one with their lunchbox of healthy food, they throw it away and they eat their other kids'
Absolutely.
food. So that is where it takes a community. That is where it takes educated people to say, well, our zygotes were in a fasted state and our children, our babies are in ketosis. And I don't talk about this a lot publicly because a lot of mistakes can be made with ketosis and can hurt a baby if you don't know what you're doing. But the original state of the zygote is connected to nothing eating itself. That's the original fasted state.
Yeah.
So you can extrapolate from that.
Yeah.
But as moms and dads, you have a baby now too, we have to all be on the same page with what we're giving our kids to eat.
We changed my son's diet. Like he was having trouble focusing at school, and so we stopped giving him cereal in the morning. We started giving him more higher protein, very, very little carbs in the morning. Like even those chicken melts from like Costco, because we looked at that. I'm like, oh, the protein's really high, the carbs there, but it's not as high. We literally switched cereal with that because he used to like eating those, and like his behavior changed dramatically. Yeah,
sugar's a poison, and you often get removed from social media from saying this or by saying this, but it is the most addictive substance on this planet.
It sure is.
Yes.
And so we are all God in human form, to your point earlier, and we get our jump start at the moment of fertilization when we're a zygote, which means that we all come from this same quantum field of energy at fertilization. And then we come out, we have different colors, different races, different clothes, different education, but it's all us. We all have the power to create a new reality for real estate, for medicine, for whatever we want, if we understand that. And the second you take that power off of the person and put it in the school, put it into this, put it in the religion, put it wherever, you're taking away their godliness.
Yeah.
You're taking away their ability to fix themselves and making them dependent on someone else.
Dr. Hunt for president. I'm just saying. I agree with you completely. Yeah. No, and obviously this episode, what I love where this is turning to, it's like, if you focus on your health and orient yourself to making yourself be the best human you possibly can be, this also leads to making better decisions because your cognitive abilities become better. Like you're not foggy. Your energies are better. Like, hey, I got to go to 5 different houses today and review all the things that you have to be on point.
Well, that's where the sugar part comes in. I mean, ancient civilizations knew that the sugar was the poison. They knew, for example, if they were going to send a warrior out to fight, they had to be fasting.
Yeah.
I mean, even the Vatican by Constantine was built by fasting. He was fasting when he had that vision and he was out for the hunt. And I know a lot of your followers might not be religious, but I'm tying in like the spiritual, the historical, all of it so that it makes sense to every person who's listening. They knew that sugar was a poison.
Yeah.
They knew that you couldn't give a warrior sugar. Our military knows it as Operation, what's it called? Metabolic dominance. We literally have an operation called metabolic dominance to study ketosis to make our warriors better.
What were those Asian? There's like an Asian troop that the Mongols that also like only ate like horse meat and fasted.
Yes.
And they like trampled over that country for
and they would be rewarded with salt and butter.
Yeah. That sounds good.
Yeah. I think that's a reward I'm looking for.
I actually have butter in the freezer right now because I like to crunch.
Salted Kerrygold waiting for me.
Yeah. I'll give you some butter after this. So yeah, that'll be our new gift for being on the podcast. Yeah.
So making the shifts in our diets is crucial. It's you have to do it. But you saying everything under the sun. Now, I'd love for you to be able to explain why is it so important for us to be waking up and watch the sun rise, to watch the sun go down, to be in the sun for specific hours throughout the day?
Yeah. Do you want the religious answer or the scientific answer or both?
Both.
Hit me.
So when the sun comes over the horizon, we have this canopy of the atmosphere.
Mhm.
And based on the angle of the rays of light, different rays, light is frequency,
Mhm.
right? So this blue light has a specific frequency. The green light has a specific frequency. It's a vibration or it's energy. And based on this atmosphere that we have, as the sun comes over the horizon, different frequencies of light comes through.
Mhm.
Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, ultraviolet, A and B. And then there's a decrescendo back down at night. So your eye, your brain, your mitochondria are specifically attuned to those frequencies. For example, in the morning, when the red light and the different frequencies of orange, yellow, green come through, you start to wake up. You start to make cortisol. Your insulin gets released. It's specific. It's called, in the field of medicine, it's called optogenetics. You are the ultimate eye genetic. It creates your genes. So every mitochondria in your body, every sensor in your body is tuned in to those frequencies. It's talking to you.
Yeah.
It's literally talking to you through light code or frequency.
Well, and we're energy too.
From the sun.
Yeah.
All of the energy that you eat comes from photosynthesis, filtered through the animals to you. So you're either eating animal fat and protein or plants. And the plants are taking the heavy metals out of the soil, again, whether it was 3,000 years ago or today, and storing them in the starch of the plant.
Yeah.
And then you eat it.
Yeah.
So you're a recycling system for sunlight. And you have to have a mechanism to get rid of it. Whether it's glyphosate, lead, cadmium, arsenic, whatever it is, your scientific body, when you understand ketosis, fasting, autophagy, apoptosis, allows you to dump it. Now, some of the things like gadolinium is a little harder, but most things that you would get on a normal day, you are designed to be able to dump in the winter when there's not carbs, when you don't have as much food like an animal.
Yeah. That's right, guys. So don't be eating all the cookies that are coming up on Halloween and Christmas, Thanksgiving.
But think about how, as a society, we've been set up for failure if we're not cognizant of this, right? I show up every.
Money and power.
It's money, power, but also we slap everybody into. I'm in an office right now. We're in the podcast studio right now. So people wake up, they don't see the sunrise, they hardly go out into the sun at any point in time. They sit inside of an office all day long, and they come straight home and get straight into the house, and that's the routine. The routine is to never ever see the sunlight and ever get any of that healing.
So I knew when I was in Chicago that at medical school at Loyola, I was trained by the Jesuits, that I was sick. And I knew when I went back to LA, I felt better. And I knew before that when I went to Berkeley, UCLA, I went to Berkeley, then Loyola, then UCLA. And I knew I got sick. I knew I had to get back in the sun. And that was in my 20s. I got into this OB practice. My circadian rhythm was so messed up. I was up all night, every night. Then I had my two babies, his brother and sister, and back to back. I didn't sleep for years, and I knew I had to fix it. So the first thing I did was I moved to Camelback Mountain, and I started walking east towards the sunrise. After I decided I was going to stop OB and I was sleeping, I started walking east towards the sunrise, and I could barely walk up the golf course. I had Hashimoto's. I was sick. And I was still practicing medicine. I was still doing surgeries. I was still doing hysterectomies. I still had all that stress. Over the next 4 to 5 years, I went from the point where I could barely walk up the Phoenician golf course to I could walk in the morning all the way around the back of the Phoenician and over the top of Camelback. Now that took me a few years. And then I decided, okay, you're going to change your practice. So when COVID hit, I was ready to do online. It was the best thing for me because I was already a mitochondrial warrior because I had written the book and knew what was coming. But I didn't have to go to that office anymore. And now I'm at the point where I've moved to another house and another house. The other house faces west. I've got a whole outdoor workout thing that I'm putting together now. I mean, that's taken me 9 years.
Yeah.
But I can work from the top of a mountain. I teach from the top of a mountain. I created a reality that I never thought I could.
It's a good reality.
It's a good reality.
It's a good reality.
I mean, my job is teaching from the top of a mountain in the sunrise. Anybody can do that. You just have to figure out what you want.
Yeah.
I mean, your job is mostly outside.
It's a lot of outside. Yeah. It's a lot of outside. I could be better about my habits of waking up earlier in the morning, to Ingrid's point as well. I'm such a night owl. And it's probably a toxic trait that you and I
both
share together
because
we'll be texting
we'll
at midnight.
text at like 10:30, 11, it's like, hey.
Covering stuff. Yeah. I think it stems one more air up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I could be better about that. But yes, I do try to get out as much as possible. And when I do go outside, to your point that you talk about too, is that your eyeballs are solar panels essentially for your body.
Your skin.
I try to always put myself in there. And if I am going outside in the morning, having the baby makes it a little bit more difficult because it feels a little rushed in the mornings. But I try to go out there with her too. And I'll have my shirt off and I'll go out and I'll look at the plants and touch the plants, all that kind of stuff, and just try to soak it in for 5 to 10 minutes.
And those will be her best memories
Mm-hmm.
of you. And that will make her want to do it when she grows up. All you have to do is just show your kids what you're doing and make them have fun with you while you're doing it. And whether she knows it or not, that's what she's going to model for her kids.
I love that.
It's so good.
You don't even have to say
Dropping
anything.
gems on how to be a better parent. How about that? Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic.
What haven't we covered, guys?
I know.
Tony Robbins mindset. We got parenting, sex advice.
We can do that.
I'll let you guys take that away if that's the conversation where it's going. I'll be back in 20, guys.
Courtney's coming to my office.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. No, but all good points. And back to, I think what Ruth said earlier, it's really about, we are nature, and being in these boxes that we put ourselves in, like this, even this very cool looking podcast room, it's not a natural thing. So we should focus on how do we get back to nature a bit more, and really start with that more so than even the food thing. Cause like you start with that. And once you
start with sunrise every morning. Most people don't even know where to find the sun on the horizon at sunrise. Most of the people who come to me don't even know where to look. Every ancient civilization had, from the Nordic to the Aztecs, that they had to track the sun on the horizon and they knew it was always going to come back. They knew it was always going to go south, and they knew it was always going to come back. And most people that I work with in my practice or at Genetic Protocol, they're like, I don't even know where it is. Where do I have to go? Where's the sunrise today?
well, that's weird.
They can't find it.
They don't know west and east.
They know that it's east, but like I can tell you from standing on Camelback Mountain what mountain range it's going to come over every single day. Most people are like, well, do I go to the top? Like I live in Arcadia. Do I go to the top of 56th Street? Do I go to the east side of Camelback Mountain? Well, there's times if you're on 56th Street, you won't be able to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Most people don't even know where to find it. And then imagine if you live in New York City.
Yeah.
Or Asheville, North Carolina. A lot of people complain there's trees everywhere. I can't find it. The first step is to just open the door, go out there, and figure out where it is on the horizon.
Wow, that's an easy first step.
And then spend a minute more each day.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So yeah, what would be your recommendation as your, like, a starting point? So like 10 minutes looking at the sun? A minute, just a minute.
No
Really?
glasses, no contacts, no doors, no glass. Go outside.
I have been killing
Face
it.
east for a minute. But
I've been trying to do 10 minutes and I'm like, why is my brain like nonstop and I can't just chill the F out and hang out? And I do try to ground
Enjoy
too.
the moment.
Like I take my shoes
You don't
off,
have
get
to
in the
hang out.
dirt.
Think. Write
Yeah.
notes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm weird.
Write
Yeah,
down
yeah.
what you're gonna do.
For
Bring a
sure.
notepad.
Good point. Good point.
That's my like this time.
Yeah.
I'm like taking notes.
Yeah.
I'm listening to quantum mechanics. I'm teaching quantum mechanics. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to.
Don't overcomplicate it.
This is
Yeah.
what I think people get wrong about meditation. When you're in a healthy state,
Yeah.
you are reading the electromagnetic environment around you.
Mhm.
Meditation is not sitting there going,
Which, by the way, I hate doing.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
Get yourself healthy.
Uh-huh.
And then if your mind is flying, write it down. You're getting ideas.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I'm like, I'm trying to calm this brain down thinking
Mm-mm.
I have
That's my
so many
Let
thoughts.
it run.
Let it run.
That's my go time.
Okay. Yeah. Theta, baby. Right? Isn't
But
it theta?
if you are in
Citizen?
ketosis or fasting, it's
Mhm.
going to be more on fire.
Oh, shit. Okay.
You're going to get more drop-ins. I
Mhm.
call them downloads.
Downloads.
The woo-woo people call it channeling. But it's really just your synapses are connecting things. Like let's say you know something about buying homes, selling homes, loans, percentages. When you're in that state, you'll have aha moments. You'll have connections happen.
Yeah.
Don't reject it. Welcome it.
Welcome it. Okay. Tomorrow I'm going to have my notepad out. But no, I thank you. Like I thought I was doing something the wrong way because I was like, I got my shoes off. I'm in this dirt. I'm going to ground myself because I do have inflammation issues. And then I'm like, I'm looking at the sun. I just need to do this for 10 minutes every day. And just getting to 10 is so hard for me. So yeah. Okay.
Because you can't sit still.
Because I can't sit still.
So don't sit still.
Yeah,
I hike a mountain.
Yeah, this is true. Well, I'm trying to. I'm in my little patch of dirt. So yeah, for sure.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Go.
Touch
a rock.
Yeah.
Bend over. Touch the grass.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something. Sorry. This is just not right. Sorry. My husband was on there. I can't help myself. So okay.
Yes. Have sex. That's the best time of day.
It is. I 100% agree with you.
I'm almost 4 weeks into my light group right now, and the people are all saying, I come in from the middle of the day sun and I want to have sex. Because that it literally makes you make cortisol. It literally makes you make dopamine. It literally makes you make endorphins. It literally makes you feel good. And that I talk a lot about how the women's hormone gurus are saying that women will start to go through menopause or lose their hormones at 35, 40, 45. That's not true. It's because we're sick. And when you understand how to eat in alignment with the sun, ketosis, fasting, feasting, the right nutrition, and being out in the sun, and your vitamin D comes up, and you make the epinephrine, and you make the cortisol that you should get from the sun, your sex drive comes back.
Yeah.
It's a natural human instinct. It comes back.
Oh,
you don't have to go get testosterone. And I do testosterone pellets. I mean, as a doctor, that's part of my practice. But you don't have to do that. You shouldn't have to as a young woman.
Right.
I'm not saying that you do, but that's what people come to see me for. And I have a big beef with people on the internet who are like, oh, a woman loses her hormones at 40. If her metabolism is sick.
Yeah.
But she can fix it.
I love that.
So good.
Well, I know we are at the top of the hour, and I want you to make sure you funnel people to you. So you're starting a new class on Sunday?
Yeah. So I have a ketosis intro group going on right now. And if people decide to participate in it, we'll leave it up for another month. It's live for another week and a half to 2 weeks. But it is 28 days of just change this and this today. Change this and this. I talk really simple, really basic, and there's a ton of repetition. So that one's going on now. I'm finishing a light group now. If anyone's interested, we can still do that. But Sunday is starting what I call a mitochondrial mastery group, where we cover sleep, cold plunge, and sauna, but the evolution of cold plunge and sauna. We cover VO2 max testing, which is how your mitochondria convert your oxygen into carbon dioxide, and why that makes a difference, whether you get Lyme, mold, toxins, cold, COVID, any of it. You have to be that strong. We cover your resting metabolic rate. We cover muscle density, fat mass, leptin, and insulin, and why those regulate those things. So we basically cover 5 things to do when you plateau, and then I break them all down. Body composition, sleep, heat, cold, all the things that you can do if you hit a plateau, how you push past it.
So when you start this on Sunday, like what's the cadence of this class? Because I'm signing up, guys, and I just want to know.
So this is a more advanced class.
Okay.
I would hope that people would have some basic understanding of ketosis and maybe of fasting.
Yeah.
We do a 1-hour lecture or webinar on Sunday morning. And that covers what we're going to outline during the class. How I get to the point that ATP is 400% more in ketosis, to how you get testing for all of this, devices you can use at home, simple ways you can test at home. It's a total overview. And then every single day for 28 days, I do a live video. And sometimes it's 10 minutes. Sometimes it's an hour. And I take questions and we just go over, okay, this is how you make more muscle. This is what you do with your metabolism if you're a low leptin person. This is what you do if you're a high leptin person. So for 28 days, I teach a different topic, lactate, the lactate shuttle. It's more high level. And again, I don't like the word biohacking, but it's high level. What are your questions on these topics? And I break it down into 5 topics that you can work on. If your weight loss has plateaued, if your cognition has plateaued, if you're still feeling brain fog, I go through that day after day for 28 days and just encourage everybody to ask questions.
I love it. Guys,
So
a
good.
world-renowned doctor is telling you that you can have access to this important information. And we love Maureen, who asks, like, what supplements do you recommend?
Well, first you got to go to geneticprotocol.com in order to find these supplements. And it's a shameless plug. We have to.
Yes.
We got to figure it out, Maureen.
So I do a cheek swab. I don't want people taking unnecessary supplements. I think everybody foundationally needs a multivitamin. And so I have a couple different ones. I take mine called the Daily Protocol. I think everybody foundationally has to eat seafood or get fish oil. My preference is that you eat the seafood. You need methylated B vitamins, but when you insert those can be tricky. I have a whole host of things you can take for inflammation, but I do a DNA cheek swab to help me guide you in what you need. And probiotics. I'm outside in nature all the time, touching everything, but I also take probiotics every time I eat. Mine's called Probiotic Protocol if you want to support me. Those would be the foundational things. But then if you want to meet with me one-on-one at Genetic Protocol, I'll mail you a DNA cheek swab and I'll build a template of what you either could eat or take as a supplement if you don't want to eat those foods to help you rebuild yourself a better body. A traditional, really smart doctor will know that you can rebuild yourself a whole body in 7 years. I'm here to tell you it takes 3 to 4 months.
Wow. Guys, at the end of the year, I'm going to be a whole new woman.
But it's true.
Yeah.
You're the same person you were when you were a baby. Do you look anything like that person?
No.
Yeah.
Right.
But you can halt the clock. This is what Harvard is studying, halting the clock in the mice.
Yeah.
You can do, and they can take a mice that's aged a year and hold it at 9 months. If a mouse can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I want to stay 42. I mean, my birthday's in February. I would love to stay 42, even if that number shifts. So let's do it.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the. We have been waiting for this moment. I know I was because I'm such a fangirl.
Yes.
But really appreciate you coming. So if folks want to get a hold of you, how did they get a hold of you?
On Instagram. I have a link tree with all the courses that I have right now. My company, Genetic Protocol, has an Instagram page, or geneticprotocol.com if you want to schedule with me one-on-one. And then I have an office in Scottsdale if you think you need hormone replacement, where you can schedule with one of my nurse practitioners up there.
Yeah, that's so fantastic. Thank you so much for being with us. And
thank you
for making time. I know we had to change when we went live today so that we could make so we could have her here with us. And by the way, that's also teaching us, like, you do what matters. Like, you had to come and do this podcast early so you could be there for your kids to pick them up. And for me, I'm like, that's so awesome because that's somebody who lives by their standards. So,
yeah. She creates her own reality.
Yep, that's right. Cool.
See how I brought it back?
Hey.
My daughter's kind of bossy.
I also don't want to get yelled at. Yeah,
that's funny.
I get it.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you, Courtney.
Thank you so much. You guys make sure that you subscribe, you hit the bell icon so you can be notified when we have more episodes coming out of the Explain It podcast. Dr. Courtney Hunt, thank you so much for being here to join us and drop so many gems for everybody. We'd love to have you back. It was the tip of the iceberg, you guys. There's so much information. We have covered so little information. So if you found value in this, make sure you share it. Make sure you like this. Make sure you tell everybody about it so we can get Dr. Courtney Hunt back on the podcast.
Yeah. And a reminder for all of you out there that tonight we're having our meetup at the Perch. If you haven't subscribed to tickets, I don't know, there's like 10 left. Last I looked.
Yes.
So make sure.
Space is limited, you guys.
We're actually getting moved to a different part of the restaurant because we've been so successful at all the people signing up. So we really appreciate you. Come say hello to us. Talk to us about, like, what are your wants, what are your needs, so that we can connect you with the folks who can help you be more successful.
So why don't you tell them, for my followers, if you need to stop the YouTube, but for my followers, they don't know what you guys do and what your groups are about. Why don't you just tell them a little bit?
Go ahead, Stephen.
Absolutely. So Ingryd and I are real estate investors, and we educate on building financial freedom, financial wealth, and real estate. So how to buy houses, how to find a distressed house, how to rehab it, how to build equity and create the value within the properties out of thin air, essentially, right? So where do you put your money? How do you cash flow on that money? And how do we make sure we're setting up a legacy for the long term of what we're doing for our families and for our future health, right? I'm sure none of us want to work until the day we die, other than the joy of if you're doing something you absolutely love and it's purpose driven. But being able to set yourself up financially so that way you can retire by 40, 50 and not have to worry about how am I going to pay my bills down the road when Social Security is gone, right? How do I take care of myself so that way I can rely on myself as well? Yep.
So we're real estate investors with a purpose. And if you would love to meet us, we will be at the Perch tonight from 6:30 to 9?
9. 6:30 to 9.
6:30 to 9. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, again, there's only a few left. You can go to the link in my bio or Steven's bio and sign up for tickets.
Most of the people that follow me are in Scottsdale. Tell them where the Perch is.
The Perch is in Chandler, Arizona. We're gonna make you drive south on that 101. Yeah. Cool. Right.
Bye,
on.
guys.
Bye.
Thank you. See you next Wednesday.